Going once, going twice, sold! You're listening to The Property Pod.
All right, crew, welcome back to the Property Pod. You are joined by your host, Aaron, and I've got Johnny Mack and Patrick Berry here with me at the desk.
Hello, hello.
Hey, gentlemen.
And Pat's spoken more than he did on last episode already.
Well, I've had a week off now since obviously we didn't have the episode last week because you had to be away for a bit.
There's so much to say.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I actually did have a few people reach out in our time away. One was Nan, obviously. She's reached out and said, I tried to listen on Friday and it wasn't there. I said,
happened?
oh, look, sorry, Nan, I was crook. I couldn't be there to perform, so I let the team down on that one. But some other people actually emailed through and said, what happened to the show? They thought we were on hiatus again. They thought it was a, what do you call it? Undeclared hiatus.
I guess it was before we declared it up front, didn't we? And then it just lasted a lot longer than we anticipated. Cause
No, this time it was just the damn Rona.
Well, I will put it out there to anyone suffering from the coronavirus. I imagine it's really horrible, but just the test alone, wowza Rooney.
I think you're supposed to talk it up as not being that bad so more people go, Aaron.
Oh, yeah, because we're doing a public service, so we're
Yeah.
part of the media, so we should be saying, well, look, it is, you should use your, no, I can't talk it up. I tried my best. I thought about it.
I tried to talk it up to Abby and I was like, it only takes a couple of seconds. She's like, it takes 5. I was like, 5 seconds, 2 seconds. What's the difference?
The
It's a
guy-
couple seconds.
whole seconds.
The guy did say to me when he was doing it, he said, it's 20 seconds of your life. Just think of it that way. Because he said, oh, it's pretty unpleasant. I was like, all right. And the first bit was fine. And it was just kind of like, it makes you gag and stuff. But then the weird bit, we don't really need to be talking about this, but the weird bit was it got stuck up my nose. So it got up to the top bit and then it got stuck on my nose clenched or something, a swab. And the guy's like, relax your nose, relax your nose. I'm like, I don't know how to relax my nose. Like, that's not a muscle I
don't
work
practice
on.
this, mate.
Yeah, I don't practice my nostril.
Maybe it got
lift.
squished into your brain and it couldn't come out.
Yeah, I have been feeling a bit strange ever since. No, look,
Anyway.
we shouldn't be joking about corona, but yes, no, I was being
Main
away.
thing is you did the right thing and went and got tested.
Yeah, look, and that you should go get tested if you show
Have
any of the signs or symptoms, and yeah,
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
That's that. Well, look, everyone's been doing a bloody good job over the last few months. Why not just keep it going?
I do really like Pat. Pat called me up when that active case or the positive case come through.
Oh, yeah.
He's like called up. And he's like, "Hey, Az, that's not you. That's the first positive case in 65 days in Tassie."
Well, I was just thinking, God, imagine if it was Aaron.
timing was
the guy
unreal.
that's been so
Yeah.
protective and always washing his hands and doing everything right. Imagine if the first person after 65 days was Aaron.
Well, the thing is, can you imagine what the ramifications of that could be if it was you?
Oh well, why like I've said to Pat, like I'm crook. I'm just going to stay at home. I can do some editing from home and do things like that. We'll make it work. I don't want to like hit the team and then be like,
Yeah.
oh, 4-4's.
That's
But-
a shame.
Unfortunately, the podcast suffered last week as a result of it.
Yes.
Because John and I are not clever enough to work those buttons, so we just had to concede defeat and move on.
And apologies to Nan. Yes, we weren't there. You couldn't hear our tones, but we're back now. And we're back and we're in business.
And we have exciting news.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, speaking of
it's been
business.
a big 10 days here at 414 Real
I
Estate.
know, and this is the crazy bit. The cat kind of got let out of the bag on the eve of doing the next podcast. I was like, oh, the next podcast is going to be a cracker.
Yeah.
Because
Some people may not have noticed, but Johnny Mack, you've got a few listings under 414 Real Estate's name.
And it's been very odd answering the phone. Because when we launched that one at Fawcett, and I was sitting in this office, and you're like, John Mcgregor from 414 Real Estate, everyone in the background's like, yeah!
So if people haven't figured out, John has come across to work for us, which is super exciting. So we're now one big happy family, which is really cool.
So can you guys explain kind of how this has come about and what's happened to, have you had a falling out with your family, John? Have you been exorcised from the Mcgregor clan?
I'm no
They said you got a new scarf that's not clan colours.
You're
And
out.
they've-
I've had to scrape off my tattoo and denounce all names. I've even lost my lordship as well because I'm not because
My lordship.
Well, I did. I'm not sure if you guys know, but you can. There's this conservation place in Glencoe in Scotland, and the gag is you donate like you pay $100, could be pounds, I can't remember. But then you purchase like what is effectively 1 square meter of.
I have heard of this, yeah.
Of like conservation land, and so a lord is just a landowner. So effectively, then they send out all these certificates to say you denounce your former title of Mr. John Mcgregor and hereby adopt the idea of Lord John Mcgregor and all that.
So is this like the guy that sells land on the moon at the moment?
Yeah, that's effectively it's the exact same principle. But I mean, but it ends up being a real fun gag in order to donate money to conserve this area. So, side that note,
Thank you.
Glad I took us down that segue.
Yeah.
But back to the back. I mean, the exciting thing is now it's the entire company will be moving under the 414 brand.
Okay.
So it's been conversations have been happening for a while, but it wasn't until all the contracts were signed and the idea that both companies will be coming together. And I think the coolest thing is that we've been throwing these ideas around for years, and the fact now that obviously both companies are running, which is First National Real Estate, Mcgregor and 414, but it's open for the minute until we can bring everything together, properly.
Yep.
Eventually, it'll all fall under the one brand, so all of us will be moving across to this company.
And what I really like about it is that I think the Mcgregor family has a wealth of knowledge in the industry. They've been in it for so long. They have so many stories. Well, people listening to this show, they know John's got a story every second day.
Yeah.
And those stories...
Wait to hear Dad's stories.
Yeah. But that's what really helps staff become better at their job and know how to deal with situations. And I think that's really cool that we're going to get that wealth of knowledge. And then in return, we can give them the technology information and the way we do things in a digital perspective. So it's going to be two different businesses helping each other to become better in the long run, I think.
Yeah, I've already immediately started to know that straight away. I mean, we were only talking about a contract with the, relating to the shorter period clause, or even when it comes to all the technology that you're showing our crew. It's obviously that bit of that shock at the first minute, going, oh my God, look at all the stuff we're taking on. But quickly that just shifts to excitement because you realise, hang on a minute, you're bringing the best of how our teams operate, and then bringing those two things together.
Has he been the guy from the outside of it? Like, obviously I was away last week, but this was kind of happening in the background for just a few weeks now before it officially kind of clicked over into you becoming a salesperson here at 414 and the amalgamation. But seeing the way that both teams kind of have operated and then marrying it together, kind of like this perfect analog and digital clock becoming like this mega clock that's like when the Power Rangers morph together.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, because what you had, what was it Megazord, and then what was the giant dinosaur that it used to ride on the back of? I had all those toys.
Are you talking about Voltron or?
No, Power Rangers did it too. Like, we'll move on.
I kind of felt like Aaron was just putting that there for like a little thing, and you've just taken it and ran with it.
I was just trying to say it's really nice that you guys have come together, and what started out as kind of a friendship and two businesses that were kind of, I'm not sure if your dads or families were friends prior to you guys being friends, but it was something that's blossomed from kind of you guys meeting at school into this.
John and I have known each other since kindergarten.
Oh, yeah. Well,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, it'll be exciting times sitting next to J-Mac working each day. So we'll see how we go.
Well, I actually would love an episode with the dads.
Ooh, my dad won't say much.
I reckon I could get something.
He's a man of little words. He just sits there quietly.
Mine will.
Yeah. Oh, so it's exactly the same dynamic as what we've got going here.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
100%.
Well, we learn from the best.
And I think that for me is, what I'm really excited about is that we're legitimately we're all complementary skills. And I think it's going to be a phenomenal fit. And considered the idea of delaying it a little bit longer, but I thought, well, now it's all done and dusted. Let's just move on, get stuck into it.
So you're putting the other agents on notice, J-Mac?
In terms of...
two different companies coming together to create a super agency.
Yeah, I can feel it already. It's we need to get some flame-written shoes. Damn, I had the thought with Power Rangers, but I couldn't
don't think anyone has anything to worry about. Anyway, let's move on to some actual real estate.
But look, it's really good to know that you guys are forging forward.
You can see, I'm all about big dating ourselves in that sense. And I guess that was sort of the thought. Well, we did do sort of an official thing later on down the road, but I mean, it's more like we just like to get down and get into it, rather than because I always think I remember when Oasis came into Tassie, where it was just the Pokies.
I thought you meant the band. I was like, I don't remember that.
I was thinking band too. I'm like, Oasis came to Tassie?
How did I miss that?
Was that like a Dark Mofo event and I missed it? It's like...
so the Toad or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The Oasis,
Well, then I remember like, Oasis is coming. The most exciting thing is coming. It's like, well, and then when it arrived, it's like poker machines.
I actually remember the ad now, yeah.
And I think, I suppose, what I like the way that we're approaching it is that we just, it's happened. It's important to us and, all our clients, etc. And then we're slowly getting the news out there. But again, in the end, we're just doing it by our good work.
So we're not screaming from the roof, the biggest thing in real estate is coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny because I think I put together a social media.
We will.
Well, you guys can do that if you want. I think I put together a social media post of your first listing. I think at the time you were tossing up, do I do it through First National? Do I do it through 414? You're like, bugger it, let's do it through 414.
Let's get into it.
I'd put it up, and I think within 20 minutes, your dad was getting phone calls from all these people. Oh, it's John jump ship. What's going on here? And it's amazing how fast the news can travel.
Yep.
Even if you're not shouting it from the rooftops.
Yeah, and because there's still a lot of us. We will do a lot of promotional element on it to once it's all done and dusted. But I'm just glad that we can get into doing the work.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's most fun is on the day-to-day grind. You'd say working with the clients and with you guys doing good work.
Well, it's probably more important to be working feet on the ground with the people that you are working with rather than shouting it to the people that you're not working with to say like, oh, look at us, we're so cool, look at how cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you're listening, Jared, we're happy to have an article written about us.
Yeah, 100%.
All right,
let's jump into some real estate stuff. I wrote some notes before I got sick, and I actually changed the colour code. They all look really pretty. So,
and I'm just reading them for the first time, so give me a second till I'm on top of them.
Look, we'll jump out, we'll come back in, and we'll go from there.
414 Real Estate has been operating within the northern suburbs of Hobart since 2006 with their innovative approach to marketing and managing your property. They have all your property needs covered. Find out more by visiting them today at 414.com.au.
Actually, before we got stuck into the next part, I did want to do a quick shout out to Phil Donnelly.
Yeah.
Because he sent us an email before as well, just wishing us congratulations for the 50th episode.
Yes, he did reach out after the 50th and congrats. He said he'd been with us from the start. And,
thanks, Phil. Like, I'm so happy to hear that because because when I told him about it, he just jumped straight on. He just got. I think we would have been that many weeks into it. I suppose I can't remember how far, but he just started straight back.
Yeah.
So it was awesome, and he's still kicking on. So thanks, Phil.
We need a Phil review. We're gonna Nan review. We need a Phil review.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That could play. I will say I went and had dinner at a friend's house. I have talked about her on the podcast before. She bought that tiny little house that was like a little cottage, Lena Valley or somewhere. And she was doing it all up. So we actually went there the other night and had dinner with her. And the renovation she's done is absolutely amazing. You'd be blown away. I'd love to get some before and after. Sometimes I go into houses and just ask, can I take a photo of your house? And it sounds really creepy, but it's kind of that. I'd love to have the before and after. It's just to show like how far she's come.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So shout out to Megan there on how well she's done on her renovation on that one.
Yeah, awesome.
But we do have stuff to talk about today.
It's about houses that are selling.
Yes, well, it's about how well what are they called? Open homes have been going recently, and how kind of gangbusters the market is going despite the borders being shut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually really like the heading you gave this segment as.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
The Mainlanders are away, but the locals will pay.
Oh, yeah.
How long did you spend on that one?
Mate, you know I'm your copywriter when you get stuck, so you know that I came up with that flash in a pan.
No, but what you're basically saying, and you are correct, is that although over the last couple of years we've had a lot of mainland buyers coming to the state and purchasing properties, with the borders closed that has quietened up, but it's created a really unique opportunity for local buyers. And what I've found, and I don't know if you found the same, John, but a lot of local buyers felt like they couldn't purchase in the market 1 or 2 years ago because they kept getting outbid by mainlanders.
Yeah.
And this is their opportunity. They're like jumping back into the market. They're ready to go. Their finances are all sorted and they're sort of moving while there's that window of opportunity to potentially buy a house without being up against 50 competitors.
I agree 100%. And even just the general sentiment and conversations is it just legitimately got burnt out.
Yeah.
There was too many people, too much competition. They're like, I'm just sick of it. I'm going to take a break. At that point too, some people either re-signing their lease or not worrying about putting their house on the market and just pausing because with the hope that things might just cool off. And I suppose the coronavirus was a really good catalyst then. Then everyone just stopped in general. But now in Tasmania, everyone just wants to get back on with their lives. And it's like, you know what? They've got there's a positive sense and, even in the general market, but more so it's like, you know what? I'm back in it. I'm ready to go. And when we first listed a couple of properties when the COVID broke out, there was only a few people kicking around. They're like, those conversations were very much exactly like I described. And now the conversations I had, especially with Fawcett, was a great example.
Well, Fawcett's a great example. You got a huge amount of interest in that.
Yeah, and then
Did you have an open home down there or that just
No.
was kind of private inspections?
Did private inspections back to back. So I spent all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Monday.
Yep.
I think we did about 19 in the end.
Yeah, wow.
Because I want to allow everyone about half an hour.
Yeah, it's probably like that needs. It's quite a sizable property.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, too, is if you get that many people at once, it ends up just being one giant animal farm. So, I mean, that's such an unpleasant experience and you don't get to have good conversations. But everyone's been different. You've had locals in the area, locals moving in, investors as well, locals. And then there was only, out of the 23, 24 inquiries were received in total. Only 2 were from interstate and both were intending to move in. So they wanted to be in Tassie but couldn't because of the restrictions.
Interesting you say that too, people from the mainland wanting to move here. I think we'll see a lot of that as over the next couple of years as well once things sort of start to open back up. I think a lot of people will see Tasmania as sort of a bit of a safe haven. Tassie, WA.
Well, you heard John's statement on the previous episode about that guy who said this was the safest place. He did
where he bought his bunker.
did the research and this is the place to come.
Well, there was, I can't remember the firm, but I was reading an article through the Australian Financial Review where...
Don't you sound la-di-da.
I know, right? Got a subscription.
He's just trying to sound good now that he works with you, Paddy.
I got to make sure.
I listen to I read.
I'm training.
No more Zoo magazine. I'm going to move on to the real stuff.
I'm doing work. I'm working, I promise. But there's a firm there that's specialising in people internationally being able to establish a foothold in Australia. So in the event that if they do need to, that they want to get out quickly, they've got all the appropriate visas in place that doesn't require them to have long application periods.
Yep.
I know in New Zealand, for example, it's you can basically buy citizenship if you spend enough money in the country. And I don't exactly know the restrictions. So I mean, let's be honest. This is limited to high net wealth individuals.
I think you can buy citizenship here too in Australia.
Really, if you dump in enough cash,
so much money over so many years. I think, don't quote me on it, but I think it's about 1.8 million a year for so many years in a row. And that'll get you citizenship.
Yeah, okay.
That's scary.
Well, I think, that's the thing is that now there's this particular firm, it featured in the articles, they're upping all their staff levels because they're getting that much more inquiry for people wanting to do it in Australia and New Zealand because of the way in which those two countries had been able to handle this process. And it harks back to, like you said, that story with the old mate who chose in this area as the fallout bunker.
Yeah.
He was just, 10, 20 years ahead of his game. Now everyone's starting to think about it. And then I guess, getting back to the point where locals will pay, that is an interesting point, where the initial thought, especially it's got to be frustrating for people where you do get people, you just get outbidded in terms of a negotiation. But now it's not, people paying ridiculous prices unseen. It's just locals recognising the value of their own neighbourhood.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And just going, no, I'm happy to pay this. This is what I want.
This is reasonable. This is what this area is garnering.
Yeah.
And we're in the market for it, rather than being like, I'm going to have to bump up my offer to try and get this fly in, fly out investor to get off my back sort of thing.
Exactly. And I know there's an exception where they've still got a few first home buyer incentives and for the building as well. I mean, obviously there's some exciting stimulus package that people are trying to take advantage of. But realistically, that's still only a small slice of the greater market.
Yeah.
Where people just wanting to move sideways, and like I said at the start, is just wanting to get on with their lives. It seems to absolutely been reflected with the degree of inquiry we've been getting.
I know you pride yourself on your the relationships that you form with people that come to your open homes or your private inspections, and you kind of really a people's agent.
Yeah.
Has it kind of been easier to know that the people that are coming through are people that you will probably be seeing around? Like Tassie's a small place where you always are running into the people you know, so you're kind of building that wealth of knowledge through these experiences rather than being like, this guy I know is from Sydney, kind of flies in, flies out. We don't really have that kind of relationship. Is that something you've been finding in this recent period?
Well, to think out loud, and because I hadn't really thought about it, what I would notice is that people are just grateful for the opportunity to have a conversation.
Yep.
Because normally it's I think good times enable lazy agents in the lazy process where you can go, and I'll often just say, look, I don't get an ego trip by selling a house in 24 hours or, 60 people to the open home. I mean, that's obviously a good reflection of obviously the activity in the market.
Yep.
But it certainly hasn't. I don't think that those processes have benefit purchasers at all. So if you've got a little bit of patience and you can enable the vendor to open up their house for longer and work a little bit harder, that just gives the buyers a much nicer experience that, they can really, connect with a home on their own terms rather than got 15 minutes with bumping shoulders with everyone, then forced to make a decision 5 minutes later.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've just noticed that because of the experience that everyone's had over the last even, 12, 18 months, 2 years, in many cases, they're just appreciative of getting the time, and they've just been a lot more open in that sense to be able to have a frank conversation like, oh my God, you actually give a shit.
Yeah.
And I think most people are surprised by that.
Yeah, cool.
I agree. I've got nothing more to add. John summed up pretty good. I was really trying to have an input in this episode.
I could tell that you're like, I'm really paying attention right now. I'm really, what John's saying. He's saying some good stuff. And then he was stealing everything that you were going to add.
Exactly.
And then Pat's just like, oh, no.
God damn it.
Now they're going to ask me to say something. Well, what we might do is we'll jump to the next topic. I reckon you might know a little bit about this. I think you sent this one through to the.
now you're putting the pressure on me.
No, I am. I'm going to put it on. I think you sent this article through. It was about St. George Bank doing like $1 lenders mortgage
There's
insurance.
actually a couple of deals out in the market now.
Oh, so it's
I've
kind
got some inside info as of yesterday.
There you go. So now I'm putting it out there that you do know some stuff about this.
Let's do it.
All right. So lenders mortgage insurance. Explain it to the layman like myself. I know I've paid it, but tell me more about it.
John? No. Okay, so lender's mortgage insurance is basically the bank taking out an insurance policy against you, Aaron, the purchaser.
Yep.
In the event that you don't pay back the loan. So what it basically means is that if you stop paying the mortgage and they have to sell your house and they take a loss, so say you have a $250,000 mortgage and they can only sell it for $220,000,
Yep.
and there's a $30,000 difference. The lender's mortgage insurance picks up that difference for the bank. So it's an insurance policy that protects the bank's investment in the property.
Yeah, it's good. It's of no benefit to the purchaser whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just insurance for the bank,
Normally,
and which they make you pay for.
Yeah, and once you're borrowing more than 80% of the purchase price, that's when you're required to have lender's mortgage insurance.
Okay. Yes.
Basically, what has been interesting, though, in the last couple of weeks is a couple of the different banks have come out and a couple of the different mortgage brokers have come out and offered to help pay that lender's mortgage insurance for first-home buyers and for people that are borrowing a higher percentage to help them get into the market and obviously to help these banks, write some loans in a market that is probably pretty tough for a lot of lenders out there at the moment. For instance, St. George is offering $1 lender's mortgage insurance on a loan ratio of up to 85%. So you can borrow up to 85% of the purchase price.
You'll only pay $1
for your lender's mortgage insurance. So in their example, on a $650,000 house, it's about $6,000 lender's mortgage insurance, and basically you get it for $1.
Yeah, wow. So that's quite a saving.
Yeah, as of yesterday, I was talking to our friend Leggett, who obviously has been on the show a couple of times from
Shout
Rams.
out, Andy.
Yep, Rams are actually offering $5,000 towards lender's mortgage insurance. So that's pretty much the exact same deal as what these guys have suggested. So it appears that a lot of the lenders out there are trying to help get the market ticking over again and get people borrowing money and purchasing properties. They see this as an opportunity to write some loans and help get people into the market.
I think I saw something when I was reading it. It was kind of like the really tricky part of the lender's mortgage insurance is it often isn't taken into account when you're saving for your deposit for your first home.
And you forget about it.
So you forget about it. So you think, I need this much money to be able to put in an offer for my first home, and then you get stung with this, say, extra $6,000, which you haven't accounted for.
Let alone the stamp duty, which most people forget about as well.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you go from thinking, oh, I've just got to pay, $250 for the house, not realizing I've probably got $12,000 in fees that I wasn't aware that I'd have to pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is kind of helping those first home buyers who are in a position to still make the home loan repayments but struggle to overcome that getting the first deposit sorted.
Yep.
Which is something that I had trouble with. Like when I first was looking at the market, I was like, the things I'm going to have to look for are in a price bracket way below what I would actually have liked to have bought, but I would be like, I'm going to have to make these sacrifices to get a start. And then being able to merge my cash with my partner's cash, it put us in a different position where we could start looking at stuff we actually wanted. But it was something I was aware of because I was like, my deposit's never going to be able to cover this, especially with once you're putting – because isn't there that thing where you ask your parents to go guarantor or something like that? Seems like a really kind of –
so guarantor will help you remove the need for lender's mortgage insurance because what that will do is that, say you're still borrowing 85 or 90% of the purchase price, the risk isn't as great because the parents are going guarantor, meaning if you stop paying, they're basically your lender's mortgage insurance.
Yes.
So they're basically putting their house as equity or collateral for your loan. So it can remove the need for that insurance policy, but you got to get along pretty well with your parents.
I know, and again, you don't want to be putting other people into a position like that. So something like this, $1 more, is this something that will be sustainable? Will this last for a while?
I don't know. At this point in time, it's all relatively new, but I literally think it's just a way of these big banks trying to get the loans ticking over because they only make money with people taking out mortgages.
Yes.
That's where they make the majority of their money. So if no one's taking out mortgages, they can't generate income.
Yep.
So I think the way they're looking at it is, a $5,000 loss to begin with over 30 years is not really that big a deal when we're going to make X amount of dollars over that period of time. So I think that's how they're sort of looking at it to help stimulate this loan process while the market is seen to be a little bit quieter Australia-wide. Like Tassie, we've been pretty lucky, not much has changed. But I imagine in Melbourne and Sydney, the market has dramatically shifted to what it potentially was.
And what with this, is the government still doing the guarantee at the minute up to the 5%?
Yes, I don't know the exact rules of it, though.
Yeah, because
there was only so many thousand people
There's like an
eligible for it,
allocation, yeah,
and
exactly.
the second round went live a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
I think this is basically another version of that, but just done at a private sector level.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense because I'm thinking if obviously there was only a certain amount that could be allocated, and each bank then was enabled, was allocated certain positions as well. So I suppose then, for the a lot of these lenders are thinking, what are ways we could continue to build that momentum, getting them to come to us, like without now that particular allocation's gone. And this then is obviously, to me, seems like a bit of an incentive case then. It's just like, hey, come with us. We'll ensure that, we'll be able to waive that for you. And I thought I'd do just a quick sum, like $6,000 over the course of a 30-year loan. When you break it down, it's pretty easily serviceable of like $3 a week or something. So, I mean, we can all find an additional $3 a week, but it's harder to come up with that money at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like the big chunk of cash, which was obviously which forming part of your deposit. And I guess that's the biggest frustration. And it'd be interesting to see how this plays out and how long they allow it for. Because one of the big interesting things about the Australian market, obviously, is because the restrictions on lending is still pretty tight in some ways. If it means that you need to get 20% before you can, not even have to worry about insurance, it means, it isn't as easy to buy a house as you'd like. They're moving the goalpost a little bit to make it easier. And there's not really a conclusion to what I'm thinking at the moment, but I'll be very interested to see once one's done it, how many others start to follow suit.
Your simple sums, like as well, you look at $350,000 to get 20% of that off the top. That's $70,000.
Yeah,
like
exactly
how
right.
hard is that to save $70,000 to put towards a house? Like,
well, very early on, there was a friend Lauren. She'd written into us to say, "Hey, look, I've got my kids. I'm renting, and I've got like very small. There's not a lot left of my."
I remember from the Max Mailbag episode, I think it was, we talked about this.
So it's a classic instance that the principle of paying yourself first, but that's all well and good, but you can still only allocate so much. So to sit aside $70,000 isn't exactly an easy route very often.
Oh, it's a slog. Yeah, it's a battle. Like even I was doing that living on your mum's couch kind of thing to save on rent, or like living without paying rent. Like if you as soon as you put rent on top of, like, it's really hard to save on groceries, on all of the living expenses. So kind of trying to save and get your $70,000 scratched away or however much you need. Like it's a slog.
Yeah.
and keep in mind, 70,000 is only on the median price here in the northern suburbs. Like, So you think about the mainland, when you've got a median sale price of $500,000 or 600,000, like to not have to have lenders mortgage insurance is near impossible for the average person.
Yeah, and I think this is an interesting one, that they're not waiving it altogether. They're still getting it taken out, but obviously they're meeting the clients halfway in this instance, where rather than 80, we can get you to 85%. We'll cover the difference for you. So this is an interesting one. I'm curious to see how it plays out and how many people are actually able to take advantage of it.
Well, because we're not experts on the subject, we might have to get Leggett back in again.
Again. Hang around
He
people
loves
smarter
it.
than us.
He loves it. Actually, we can get him back in the studio now as well, and he'll love that as well.
We might have to get him back in to give us a little bit more clarification on what RAMs are offering, because he only told me about it yesterday when I was talking to him about a client of mine. So it'd be good to just clear a bit of this up and
he knows
know
his
exactly
stuff.
what options are available for a first-home buyer at the moment.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
Well, I think we've covered off everything that we were hoping to cover off today. We kind of got in the nitty-gritty of that. Now J-Mac has been exercised from his first national family, and now he's part of the 414 family.
But keep your ears out, because I'm excited about making it a big deal. I think it's getting all the eggs getting things in place first, and then we can really.
This would be interesting to see how many people listen to the podcast in the local community.
And I'm excited that I talked 48% of the episode.
Oh, did
I've been keeping track here on the computer, and I'm really happy with my input this week. So I'm just going to keep that metric each week and make sure I sit around that sort of mark.
I like that. Just one question is, you're going to have your wisdom teeth out today, aren't you?
And I'm getting an implant. So I think we're all there.
I remember.
Yeah, so I knocked my front teeth out by ice skating into a wall. I didn't, Aaron was the smart one, but I stopped. I just thought, I'm going to keep going. No, the wall stopped me eventually.
John didn't know how much I watched the Mighty Ducks as a kid, so I just
You were
literally...
ready for this.
I was ready. I was born ready. I basically am a Mighty Duck.
Emilio!
The Mighty Ducks guy, I swear to God.
So anyway, I'm actually getting an implant as well. So I'll get 4 wisdom teeth out and an implant in one hit.
So since it was Aaron's fault, is he going halves with me in this dentist bit?
No, it's not Aaron's fault. I remember looking at you. The first thing I said was, "I'm pretty sure I won the race, right?"
Oh man, it was.
Meanwhile,
But I remember
Aaron's
you
like
felt-
looking back at you thinking, John, you clearly don't.
You're feeling bad for a long time.
Oh, I
That
felt
one.
so bad for so long.
Do you think you realised that he was missing his teeth at that stage when he turned around and asked
You
it
got to
of
remember who initiated it, though. Is
Tone.
But I saw you guys doing it, and then I wanted a piece of the action. So it's my fault on that run. You know, what are you going to do? So it's not on you or Tone. So it's my responsibility on that.
I'm glad you'll take that. I actually think I went back to that ice skating rink about 15 years later, and the tooth marks were still in that bit of
So
wood.
did you run your hand over
So,
the wall like that flashback
You
moment?
were right. And there was a friend of mine, Wendy. She was a figure skater, and I can't remember why we were
He's
there.
got a friend that's a figure
he does.
skater.
But she said, "Oh, Johnny, come and have a look at this." And so then we skated over to the other side where the brick is, and there's a chip out of the brick, and she said, "That's mine." And I was like, I
I'm
hit
glad
wood,
yours
she
went
hit
into
brick.
wood. Yeah.
She was probably doing something quite impressive though when she ran.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was just going hell for leather. Probably. I just imagine too, like, imagine the look of it. This guy going as hard as he can, doesn't even stop.
With your
With the
massive
throw.
afro at that stage.
And just right at the last minute, looks up and go, shit, like no stopping.
Blood on the ice,
Yeah.
teeth on the ice. They put it in a glass of milk.
Yeah. Oh God, it just makes. I actually
What was the plan of that? Was it to try to stick it back together?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Don't know. I think the calcium of the milk or something like that.
What,
was
Rick
meant to-
rose it back onto your mouth?
Yeah, well, I can't, hats off to the dentist at the time because this root canal, whatever he did, wasn't supposed to last this long. And that, 16, no, longer now, wasn't it? Well, no, 16, 17 years ago. So, yeah, I was supposed to have it changed at 5 years in, but it's time.
Well, we wish you all the best with it. All
Yes.
the best with that today, J-Mac.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is that we may be on
Another hiatus.
next week if your swelling hasn't gone down or you can't talk.
Yeah.
Because Pat won't be able to talk for more than 48%
Are you kidding?
of the...
Without J-Mac, I can get up to 60, 70% of the conversation.
Well, we could always do that text to voice conversion.
Stephen Hawking. That would be very interesting, John.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to The Property Pod.
Thank you.
You have been listening to The Property Pod, produced and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Real Estate and Mcgregor First National Propriety Limited.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek and use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this